everybody like my arrangement of cups over there? I'm definitely the type of person to keep 1,000 cups in my room. There's also another one over here. I'm gonna choose this one to drink during this video. It's my root beer. Hi friends! Welcome to today's video where I'm gonna be ranking a whole bunch of book tropes. So it's been about an hour since I posted my Instagram story, and I'm now going to be starting the ranking process. So I made a tier ranker on this website called Tier Maker, and I will be sharing my screen with you, and let's get started. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started here, all of this is going to be my personal opinion, so if you don't agree with me, that's totally okay. But again, everybody has their own taste, and everybody's gonna like and dislike different tropes. So I don't mean to offend any of you by not picking your favorite trope, it's just my personal opinion. Alright, so the very first trope I will be ranking is enemies to lovers, which I think is most people's favorite trope to see in reading. It's one of my favorite tropes to write and to read, of course. To be honest, I'm gonna put this one under love just because although I do love it, I'm not absolutely obsessed like most are. Just because, I don't know, I have a hard time with slow burn because I really like to keep my interest. I know a lot of people love that kind of thing, but I just don't think it's my favorite enough to be absolutely obsessed. The next one is one that I think most people have never read or maybe are less familiar with, but is basically enemies to lovers, but just reversed. I recently read a book, which I'm gonna do an entire video on. It's called A Lesson in Vengeance, and this book, without giving anything away, has the lovers to enemies trope, which I found to be even more impactful than enemies to lovers. I mean, it's in a different way, of course, but I'm gonna put this one in absolutely obsessed because it is shocking. It's a great plot twist, and watching that unfold it's really entertaining, and I would highly recommend checking out any books with lovers to enemies, especially A Lesson in Vengeance. Okay, we're gonna do forced proximity because I'm currently reading a story with forced proximity. It is called Isolation by Bex Chan. You probably have heard of it if you're into Hermione fanfiction. It's incredible, and the whole premise of it surrounds forced proximity, so I'm gonna put this in absolutely obsessed because currently this is one of my absolute favorites, just because, I mean, it really works well with enemies to lovers as well. And in this case of the story I'm reading right now, they're basically sharing a dorm, they're forced to share a dorm, and they fall in love, and they've been previously enemies. If you've read any Harry Potter, Hermione and Draco are enemies. But in this fanfiction, they fall in love through forced proximity. So yeah, one of my favorites right now. I also think forced proximity works on like a smaller scale. Like, I don't know, if the characters are forced to be close to one another for one night or one day, or are in like a group project together. I love that, like when they're forced to work together on something and maybe they're enemies, maybe they don't know each other. I just love it. Alright, let's do fake dating because this one is kind of mid-tier for me. I think when executed well, it can be really great. I have written one story that is fake dating, but it's one-sided, so the one person doesn't think the relationship is fake and the other one does. It's called Deception. It's one of my older fan fictions I've written. I'm gonna put this one in pretty good just because I don't have a lot of exposure to it. But I do think it can be really good if it's well done. And if the fake dating is accompanied by an equally good plot, like that can't really be the whole plot for me, that they're just fake dating to reach some sort of objective. Kind of depends what that objective is, but yeah, that's another kind of stipulation for me, is that the plot overall has to kind of be a lot more developed than that. But yeah, pretty good. Okay, we're gonna move into some that are on the lower side for me when I'm gonna rank them. Let's start with Single Mom, which was obviously one of the ones recommended to me by my Instagram followers. I'm gonna put it in I tolerate it only because I've never really read anything where the focus was that the protagonist was a single mom or had a single mom. I really respect single moms, obviously, in the real world. And I can see that it would be a really great thing to integrate into your story, but it's just not as exciting for me, to be real honest, as some of these other tropes. So that's why it's going in I tolerate it, even though I more than tolerate it, but it just can't go any higher for me. Alrighty, the next two are pretty similar. So we have arranged marriage and marriage of convenience. But for some reason, I have decided that I like one more than the other. This might be the case for you too. I'm not super familiar with marriage of convenience, but when I looked into it, I thought it had a lot more potential than arranged marriage, only because the marriage of convenience, it gives less negative connotations for me, um, in that like it might have been their choice, whereas arranged marriage, it seems more forced, which I know marriage of convenience can also be forced. I'm gonna put marriage of convenience in pretty good, and then I'm gonna put arranged marriage in I tolerate it. This is because if I'm gonna read a story where the characters are getting married, I don't want it to be the whole story. Just because I would rather watch the love story develop before the marriage happens than during. That's a personal opinion. Although I do think marriage of convenience can be really, really cool because they get married out of convenience and then they fall in love even though they're already bound by marriage. Arranged marriage to me just sounds negative with what I know about arranged marriage. I know arranged marriages can turn out to be beautiful and have a lot of love involved, but for me that's just where I'm gonna put these based on my first reaction. All right, let's do brother's best friend. I'm gonna put this under love, even though, again, you guys are gonna think I never read. I just really don't encounter a lot of these tropes often in my own writing or in other books, but obviously I'm familiar with most of them. Brother's best friend, to me, has a lot of potential. It has potential for the brother to become protective. It has potential for some sneaking around, which I think is interesting. And I would definitely love to write something with this trope. I've written something sort of similar where they're not friends. The male protagonist and the brother, they're not friends, and they're not really close, but they do know each other, and the male protagonist and the brother have some kind of opinions about each other, and the brother gets pretty protective over the girl in the story, because the brother knows about Calvin, who is the male main character, and thinks he is kind of a player. So yeah, I do think this trope is something I want to look more into in books and in my own writing. I guess I have read something with Brother's Best Friend, and it's Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. Not one of my favorite reads, but it was good. It was all right. And Miles is friends with her brother, I think. It's been a while since I've read it, but I think they're roommates even, or maybe they just live on the same floor. I don't know, but that's how they meet, is they're in the same building. So I have read something with Brother's Best Friend. Okay, we're gonna do another absolutely obsessed one, and that is gonna be Grumpy X Sunshine. I love this trope. Like, probably my favorite, to be honest. Whenever somebody asks me what my favorite trope is, it's automatically Grumpy X Sunshine. It reminds me of Draco. It reminds me of my characters Saturn and Calvin from Saturn Sun, which you can read on Wattpad. I just love the whole idea of it. I particularly love it in like a hetero relationship, when a guy is with the grumpy one and then the girl is the sunshine one. But I think it'd be really cool if the roles were reversed. And then in like a queer novel, I think this is also so great, because I'm currently writing something that's Grumpy X Sunshine with a women loving women relationship, and the one girl's name is Cyrus. she's not grumpy, but she's more introverted, quiet, and gets irritated pretty easily. And then there is Sasha, who is more extroverted. She's outgoing, she's bubbly, and they're a really good dynamic. So, Grumpy X Sunshine is just incredible for me. It's amazing. And you need to read stories with Grumpy X Sunshine, or write Grumpy X Sunshine, because it's very entertaining. Okay, let's talk about found family next. When I think found family, I think of the Marauders from Harry Potter. I also think of Six of Crows, even though I have not finished it. One of my friends has told me that it's a really great example of found family. I wrote a book way back when I was around 14 called Trapped in Freedom. I co-wrote it with my sister. It was one of my first big projects, and that story had found family as a part of it, where kind of a bunch of characters from different walks of life come together and they become each other's chosen family, which I think is so sweet. I'm also writing that book. It's called The Inevitable Left. I'm making a video on it, so stay tuned for that, where Cyrus and Sasha come from traumatic backgrounds and they find each other, and although there's only two of them, I still consider that to be found family, because they become each other's whole world and their comfort and what kind of makes them feel less alone and helps them to move past their past with a lack of better words. So yeah, I'm gonna put found family in love, because it's not one of my absolute favorites, but I do love to integrate it when I can. And obviously the Marauders, are you joking? I love that so much. I also kind of think of Harry, like from Harry Potter, who he kind of he lives with obviously his aunt and uncle who don't show him any love, and his parents have passed away. He finds found family in his friends at Hogwarts, and it's more of like found home, I would say. He finds family in Sirius, in Remus, even in Dumbledore, honestly, even though I don't like Dumbledore. I don't know, found family really just gives Harry Potter vibes to me, which most things do. But yeah, on like a larger scale, I think Harry Potter has a lot of examples of found family. On that note of Harry Potter, we're gonna do Chosen One, which I think of a prophecy. I think of somebody who's bound to their fate, which I think occurs mostly in like a fantasy type of book, which I don't write in fantasy, and I don't read a lot of fantasy personally, although I know a lot of people do. I'd have nothing against it. It's not my genre of choice. I'm gonna put Chosen One in pretty good, because it makes me think of Harry Potter. I like that it sparks the whole plot. I don't like how the person is bound to their fate. I don't like how they don't have choice most of the time. I do like how it kind of initiates the hero's journey, because this person is kind of forced to go on a journey or complete a task. So yeah, pretty good for me. Up next, I have two that are kind of more complex. Rather than just like enemies to lovers or friends to lovers, it is strangers to friends to lovers, and then we also have friends to enemies to lovers. So for strangers to friends to lovers, I think that this is like the pretty gradual acceleration of a relationship. That's not the word I'm looking for, but the gradual like journey of a relationship in most cases. Or that's kind of how I want to meet my future spouse, you know, like we don't know each other now, we become pretty close, more of like a friendship, and then lovers. I'm gonna put this one in pretty good, because it's kind of basic to me, and I don't love the whole build up. It just seems like I would get a little bit bored with it, but I also don't hate it, so pretty good. On the other hand, friends to enemies to lovers sounds a lot more interesting to me. I love enemies to lovers, and this just seems like it would be a really good way to move the relationship with the plot. So I'm gonna put it under love just because I really like the idea of it. Okay, we have 3 left, and I'm gonna do the one that I like the least, and it's gonna go under no thank you. Even though I don't think any trope is necessarily bad, any of these ones at least, the bet for me is gonna go under no thank you. So when I think of the bet, I think of when, let's say, a male main character's friends make a bet with him to get in a relationship with this girl or kiss this girl or do whatever with this girl or guy, or whomever the other person is in the situation. I don't really like it. I have done bet-like things in my writing before where one of the people in the relationship think that it was a bet or think that it was some sort of scheme. The actual definition, the bet, to me just makes me think of that scenario where one person is dared to date the other person or something really basic like that. I think this could easily be overused. I like it more for fan fiction than for like novels. I have technically used something like the bet in my story in Deception, one of my older fan fictions again, where Elle uses a love potion to get somebody to fall for her as kind of like a joke, and to make him not bully her. And then they do end up falling in love, but it's not really a bet. See, I think there's a lot better ways of doing fake dating or like a forced relationship than the bet. So that's why it goes there for me. Okay, my last 2 for this video are academic rivals to lovers and friends to lovers. So for me, this might be controversial. Friends to lovers is basic. I'm sorry, but it is. It's basic. I even like strangers to friends to lovers more because it means that these people didn't know each other previously. It has the opportunity for them to have like an interesting meeting. Friends to lovers, simply these people are already friends and then they become lovers. I just don't see very much potential for that. You'd have to prove me wrong, but there would have to be some sort of other plot, which I'm sure in most cases there are, but I don't know, like, I think of like Neville and Luna. I know I give a lot of Harry Potter examples, but that's just the first thing that always comes to my mind. They have a friends to lovers arc, sort of, in the movies and books. Although I don't ship Luna with Neville, I ship her with Blaze. People like that, I think it does work, but they need to have another plot, you know? Like, I don't know. So I'm gonna put it in I tolerate it. I'm sorry if you're a friends lovers lover, but for me it's just too simple. There needs to be some sort of other thing going on with them. And then academic rivals to lovers. I am writing a book with academic rivals to lovers right now as we speak. Well, no, right now I'm filming a video, but my current whip is academic rivals to lovers, and enemies to lovers at the same time. They kind of go hand in hand because by default, when they're rivals, they're kind of enemies. It kind of implies a school setting, which, if you know me, I love like a boarding school setting or a university or college. So yeah, I also love people who are like students because I'm a student. I relate to that. I love reading about classes. I love reading about assignments they're doing because I'm kind of a nerd. So yeah, academic rivals to lovers I love. I also think of the show Never Have I Ever with the protagonist and Ben, I believe his name is. That's like the most simple example of it I can think of because they do end up dating. I don't like that relationship personally, but that is what I think of by default with academic rivals lovers. And then in my own writing, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to write, because she also speculates that the academic rival is a murderer. It's gonna be really great. I'm gonna put it under absolutely obsessed because I am. And that is our final trope. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed filming this. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'm definitely gonna be making primarily book and writing related content for the next little while. My ring light went out. We're gonna finish this video over by my window in the natural light because that ring light has been charging all day and it still just died. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you would like, you can share with me your opinions in the comments on your favorite book tropes, maybe some you like less, and kind of comment on what you think about my rankings, because I love hearing about people's book opinions. I would also really appreciate book recommendations for the top 2 categories that I just ranked. Any tropes within there. I'm always looking to read more in, so if you have any good recommendations, let me know in the comments. I love you so much.